You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast, episode number 42 of season 3. The Cubs offense is downright offensive. Don't forget to listen, download, review, most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Follow on the socials, Fly the W670 on Twitter, Instagram, and Fly the W on Facebook, or email us at flythew670@gmail.com. Well, Crawly, I'd like to say happy Thursday, but that was a rough couple of days at the friendly confines.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like this team can get clicking on all cylinders. If the starting pitching's bad, then the relief pitching's good and the offense isn't good. If the relief is bad, that it's just there's always something. Whether it's the defense, the bullpen, the starters, the offense, it's always something that's just missing. And it really was the offense that really killed this team this week.
Yeah, and as the title said, the offense is basically downright offensive. It's a great title for this episode. And first game was probably the offense's best day. That was Javier Assad against Charlie Morton.
Yeah, Cub fans had to be excited. We got to see Nico Hoerner and Dansby Swanson in a lineup for the first time since May 7th versus the Padres. Hitters for both teams had to have been excited to see the flags blowing out to left field at 12 miles per hour with gusts up to 23 mph. Assad pitched against the Braves last week. He shut him down, and Charlie Morton struggled and had an elevated pitch count. Dustin, neither pitcher really had their good stuff as they seemed to be bothered. I don't know if it was the humidity or the wind or what. They both had trouble in the second inning. For Assad, the leadoff man reached when a ball that Travis Barneau hit to Michael Busch. Busch got it. He went to go shovel it to Assad, and Assad dropped it. Now, the throw could have been better, and I'm sure Javier said he should have caught it.
Oh, yeah, he should have caught it. Yeah, he should have caught it.
Either way, Darno was along for the ride when Orlando Arcia homered 420 feet to center field to make it a 2-0 game. Assad then walked number 9 hitter Zach Short and a double to Jared Kelenic to put runners at second and third with Ronald Acuna and Ozzie Albies up the bat with only one out. Miraculously, Javier struck out Acuna and got Albies to ground out to end the threat. Dustin, it was funny because I have this app that I look at. It's called Wrigley Field Wins.
Mm-hmm.
Wrigley wins. And I said, looks like it'll be a high scoring game tonight at Wrigley on a night like this. Don't walk batters, no errors. You don't have to crush the ball. Just get it up in one of those jet streams. Dustin, I mean, like you had walks by Assad, you had errors by Assad. You do that on a night like that with the wind blowing out, you're just asking for trouble.
Well, and I think when you mentioned Crawly at the start, it seemed like the pitchers weren't themselves, and these are two pretty decent pitchers. I think the wind blowing out might have gotten into their heads, right? That might have been something that they were thinking about, that they were concerned about. The wind didn't play a huge factor, I guess, in the game, and I mean huge. The total in that game, Crawly, I know it's not something that we normally talk about too much, but it got up to 11 and a half. Typically 9.5 is your typical MLB game, unless you've got two aces like, a Dylan Cease or Yu Darvish going, something like that. But 11 and a half, depending on when you got down on it. And I'm sure the pitchers were worried about, putting the ball and it going up in the air and getting the heck out of there.
Well, I know your buddy David Haw made some money on that one, but
Charlie, but he bet the under. He bet the under,
right? Yeah, it was a smart move, especially with this Cubs offense. But Charlie Morton's bottom hit second was just as bad. With one out, he hit Michael Busch. Dansby hit a rope that went off the glove of Orlando Arcia for an infield single, and Morton walked Miguel Amaya to load the bases. Mike Tauchman singled to right, but he hit it too hard. Unfortunately, only one run scored. Cubs are down 2-1. Then Seiya Suzuki probably had one of the worst bat as a Cub, flailing all over the place for a big second out strikeout. But the bases are still loaded with 2 outs. You just can't strike out with the bases loaded and 1 out. But it was just so bad. But then Cody Bellinger's at the place, and then a fastball missed the glove of Travis d'Arnaud, allowing Swanson to score to make it 2-2, a pass ball. Now, JD on Marquee, he called it really well. d'Arnaud left the game on Friday versus the Padres. He was hit square in the mask with the Luis Arias foul tip beginning in the 5th inning. He left the game with dizziness, but he's had 4 concussions in the past, Dustin, diagnosed. I wonder if, that had any effect on him missing that ball. I don't know how he missed that pitch, but, something to think about.
Right. Definitely a possibility, no doubt.
In the top of the fourth, Michael Harris hit a solo home run. He got one in that jet stream. That gave Atlanta a 3-2 lead. And with one out, Assad had runners at first and second with one out. And once again, he had to face Acuna and Albies. He gets out of the jam again. Assad would walk 2 batters and strike out 1 when Craig Counsell came out to get him. Assad finished the game with 4.2 innings, gave up 3 runs, 2 of them earned, although the error was charged to him on that drop ball. 4 Ks, but Dustin, a whopping 5 walks on the day that the wind was blowing out. That line could have been a lot worse.
Right. And again, I think that goes back to what we just talked about. I think let's put it this way. I want to believe that part of Assad's control issues was because he was nervous. He didn't want to pump stuff down the middle of the plate. He wasn't I mean, again, not only don't you want to pump stuff down the middle of the plate, but if you do get the ball up in the air, and we saw it a couple of times, it's gone. So I think they were working on some stuff. I'm hoping that's the case. I mean, we won't know for sure until the next time out with Assad, but that's what I'm hoping was going on.
Hope so. Now, the Cubs were able to tie it up in the 6th thanks to some good old-fashioned hustle. Michael Busch hit one, led off the inning with a mile-high pop-up that bounced off the glove of Zach Short. Busch was hustling, so he ends up on second. Good on him, right?
Right, good on him.
Dansby grounded out, but Miguel Amaya singled to put runners at the corners with 1 out. And once again, Mike Tauchman came through, hitting a single to tie the game at 3. The Cubs would have scored more that inning if Michael Harris didn't make an amazing shoe top catch on a ball hit by Seiya Suzuki that looked like it would land between 3 Braves. That was the second run-saving play made by Harris that game. I mean, his defense was phenomenal. His offense looked good. Just a really good young player.
He had a great day.
Now, Dustin, Nico's going to get the game-winning hit in this one, but to me, the hero of the game was the bullpen. Mm-hmm. Tyson Miller replaced Assad in the 5th, had runners at 2nd and 3rd with 2 outs, got Orlando Arcia out to end the threat. He pitched a clean 6, came back out in the 7th and hit Albies with the pitch, gave up a single to Marcell Ozuna. Counsell calls in Mark Leiter Jr. to put out the fire. He strikes out Matt Olson, Travis d'Arnaud, and Michael Harris to end the threat. He was pumped up. Hayden Wesneski pitched a clean 8th, and Hector Neris pitched a scoreless 9th. He had a little assist with a nice sliding defensive catch by Seiya Suzuki to rob Acuna of a leadoff single. Now we get into extras, and Luke Little's on the mound. Marcell Ozuna is the Manfred man at second to start the inning. Luke gets Matt Olson to ground one right back to him, so that's out 1. But then the Braves made a very uncharacteristic mistake. Travis d'Arnaud hits one to Dansby Swanson. Everyone knows the situation. Ball hit on the left side of the infield, and you're on second. Don't move. Go back to second, right?
Right.
But he starts going towards third, and it's easy for Swanson. He throws him out by a mile. Now d'Arnaud is at first, and so Michael Harris grounds out to end the inning. Braves don't score. Just a major brain cramp there by Ozuna on that, and that takes us to the bottom of the 10th. Bellinger on second. Aaron Barmer intentionally walks Christopher Morel. Happ grounds into a force out. Morel out at second, but now you got runners at the corner with 1 out for Nico Hoerner. His first game back since May 13th. He hits a high chopper, and that's good enough to score Cody Bellinger. The Cubs bullpen went 5 1/3 innings, gave up 1 hit by pitch, no walks, and 6 Ks. They put the Cubs in that position to walk him off, and Luke Little gets his first major league win.
Yeah, it was a great night. It's a great call by you. The bullpen did a fantastic job.
Unfortunately, in game 2, that was the game I went, Dustin, and I'm not going to lie. I'm on a little bit of a bad streak here. I think I've got 3 losses in a row right now for me out at Wrigley Field. This was a battle of lefties. Steele looking to get on track. Fried looking to continue his dominance lately, Max Fried. There was no score going into the 3rd, but Michael Harris singled to lead off the inning, and Adam Duvall homered. That put the Braves up 2-0. 3 starts ago, Steele gave up 3 home runs to the Pirate. His next start against the Buccos, he gave up 2. Against the Brave, he only gave up 1, so some improvement. On the other side, Dustin, Max Fried was dominant. He had a perfect game going into the 6th.
Unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, Ian Happ, who has good numbers against Fried, led off the inning with a double. He advanced to 3rd on a wild pitch and scored on a Miguel Amaya ground out. So it's only a 2-1 game through 6 innings, right? And that takes us to the 7th. A lot of things going on in the top of the inning. We could always Monday morning quarterback the decisions here by Craig Counsell, but Steele's going into the 7th. He had given up a single and a homer in the 3rd, but he had a 1-2-3 innings in the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th innings. They're not hitting him real well, but in the 6th inning, he gave up a 2-out walk and a single. He gets out of it. His pitch count is the upper 80s, And up next is the bottom part of the Braves order. So Counsell used 5 bullpen arms to get through the win on Tuesday night. We know Ben Brown was scheduled to pitch on Wednesday. That left the Cubs with 3 pitchers that didn't pitch the night before. Jose Cuas, newly called up Porter Hodge, and newly moved to the bullpen, Kyle Hendricks, to get 9 outs. So Counsell decides to stick with Steele. Again, I get what he was trying to do. It is what it is, but Orlando Arcia doubles. Michael Harris grounds out to Steele. Arcia advances to third, and then Adam Duvall is hit by a pitch. Zach Short, who had been torturing the Cubs since joining Atlanta last week, executes a perfect squeeze bunt. Arcia scores to make it 3-1. Runners are at first and second with 1 out. Steele's night is over, and Jose Cuas enters the game. In his last 3 outings, Cuas has pitched 5 2/3 innings. He gave up 3 hits, 3 walks, and no runs. He looked pretty decent, but on Wednesday night, he got tattooed. He walked Acuna to load the bases, gave up a sac fly to Ozzie Albies, and then Marcelo Osuna, I don't know, Dustin, maybe get out the P test on that one, but he hit a 3-run blast, his 15th of the season. The Cubs are now down 7-1. To add insult to injury, Matt Olson hit back-to-back jacks, and just like that, the Braves took an 8-1 lead. It was 2-1, Dustin, going into the inning. Cuas would come back out in the 8th and give up another run on a wild pitch to make it 9-1. If Steele doesn't come out in the 7th, his line would have been 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, and 5 Ks. You take that against Atlanta.
You would take that every time against Atlanta. But the problem is that's not how it worked out.
Right.
And again, the other problem is that you had a chance, like he's saving Ben Brown for a game the next day, right? And he's kind of saving Kyle Hendricks for that next game because he wasn't going to go to Hendricks in that situation. There's no way we would have killed him. I just wonder why he wouldn't have tried to go to the new kid
Porter
first.
Hodge.
Because it was a high leverage situation and he hasn't had that yet, and you're putting a lot on his plate. I get all of that. I understand that. I get it. I hear you. But I mean, boy, again, you asked for armchair quarterback, and I'm here to armchair quarterback for you.
Or why not let Cuas pitch a clean inning? Let him start out the inning. I mean, that's just the problem right now. And as far as, I just don't think that Counsell has a lot of trust in the pen. He tried to stretch out Steele. It didn't work.
Right. And Cuas was disappointing. I mean, I don't need to see him again unless there's I'd love to hear what Bob Costas thinks of Jose Cuas.
Here's what I'm going to tell you, though. It's just there's not unlimited options as far as pitchers are concerned. You're going to see Jose Cuas again.
Right. They're not growing on trees. There's no vineyard. There's no vineyard for closers or for bullpen arms. I get all that, but boy, that guy was woof.
He just had a bad night. That's the only way you can put it. And you got to just, as a reliever, he has to flush it and try to do come back out and pitch strong next time he comes out. Might not have mattered against Max Fried either way, Dustin. He went
might not have
6 innings pitch of no hit ball on 4/29. So on April 29th, he went 6 innings, didn't give up a hit before being pulled in Seattle. He went 7 innings pitch of no hit ball versus the Mets on May 11th. And against the Cubs, he went 5 innings pitch before giving up a double to Happ. He pitched a complete game, 9 innings pitch. He gave up 2 runs on 3 hits, no walks, and 9 Ks. Most of the Cubs were 0 for except for Ian Happ, who hits Fried actually pretty well. He had 2 hits. Dansby Swanson had 1. Dustin, 3 base runners the entire night. Again, whether you go with Cuas, Porter Hodge, or Brett, Bruce Sutter, it doesn't matter if you can't hit the ball. It doesn't matter if you can't hit the 3 base runners, Dustin. 3 base runners.
Yeah, it's not going to do it. I mean, it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it's not enough. The offense is, as it says, the offense was offensive.
And then we get to game 3, right? And so I'm excited. Ben Brown, this is a good test for him. A good team against the Atlanta Braves against A.J. Smith-Sauber. Now, we talked on the last episode that the probables were going to be iffy. We knew that Kyle Hendricks didn't pitch well against the Braves, and so his start was in jeopardy before. He was a TBA this third game. And then we knew that the Braves had some crazy doubleheader on Monday. And so in that situation right there, Atlanta called up Schreiber. He was a 21-year-old righty who was the Braves' 7th-round draft pick in 2021. Called him up from AAA. He had a cup of coffee for the Braves in June 2023. He had some starts. He started in July and 1 in September. He was 1-0 with a 4.26 in ERA in 5 games last season. This was his first start in 2024. Now, Ben Brown, he starts the game, right? First thing he does, he gives up a single and walks Ozzie Albies to put the first 2 runners on. But then he got Marcell.
And I was not feeling good. I was listening to Pat and Ron, and I was not feeling good about that. Not at all.
Right. Looks like a bad start, but he gets Marcell Ozuna to fly out, and he strikes out Matt Olson, Orlando Arcia to end the threat. He sat down the Braves in order in the 2nd and 3rd inning, ran into a little trouble in the 4th. He walked Marcell Ozuna to lead off the inning, threw a wild pitch. Ozuna advances to 2nd, and then Matt Olson grounds out, moving Ozuna to 3rd with 1 out. Dustin, when I watch this Braves team, it's what you want the Cubs to become. You know, they get the clutch hits, but they also do the little things. Right. They make great defensive plays. Like on that play right there, right? You got Ozuna at 2nd. What does Matt Olson do? He grounds out, moves Ozuna to 3rd with 1 out. It's just the little things.
And the night before, they played some small ball and some long ball.
Right. They hit some bunts. They hit long ball. They make great defensive plays in the infield and the outfield. It's just, that's what makes a team a World Series contender. And then I don't see it with the Cubs just yet.
No, not just yet. No.
So Brown did get Orlando Arcia and Michael Harris to strike out. Brown's day is over. He goes 4 scoreless innings, throws 66 pitches. He gave up 1 hit, 2 walks with 6 Ks. The main thing with Brown is always going to be those walks, and I think he did a pretty decent job today. The first reliever out of the pen, Hayden Wesniewski gives up a solo homer to Jared Kelenic, and the Cubs were down 1-0. Wesniewski went 1.2 innings before Luke Little came in and threw a 1 1/3 scoreless inning. So the Cubs are down 1-0 going into the 8th when Counsell calls on Kyle Hendricks. Now, Kyle Hendricks had come out of the bullpen once his entire career. That was in 1 game in 2016. Now he's coming into a high leverage situation against a team he's traditionally struggled against in the Braves, and it went just as bad as you thought it would. He gave up a single and a walk to start the inning, got Ronald Acuna to strike out, gave up a single, a stolen base, a sac fly, and the Cubs were down 3-0. Hendricks had 2 innings of work. He gave up 2 runs on 4 hits, 1 walk, and a strikeout. Dustin, I guess for me, I would have put in Kyle Hendricks in the 9th inning the night before when the game was out of hand. Just let him get a taste of the bullpen. He's struggled. I don't know where he is mentally, but they went with Porter Hodge, who struck out the heart of the order the night before in a meaningless game. I would have kept Porter Hodge and tried to use him today. That was my issue. I would not have let Kyle Hendricks throw in a meaningful pitch against the Braves just because of how bad he's been and how bad he does traditionally against the Braves.
Right. Yeah. And that was where this all started. I mean, not that it's like a huge shocking thing that they decided to move him to the bullpen, but part of it is because the timing is because, if he was scheduled to start against the Cardinals, I bet he makes another start.
Yeah, it's very much a possibility. And so I just don't know why you would put him in that high leverage situation. But
well, I think they had no choice. I mean,
right. They burned everybody out.
They burned everybody else out. So I just don't think there was anything else he could do. And then in the 9th, he did okay, but it was too late. And again, the Cubs had 4 hits the whole game, 3 or 4 hits. So, again, we're not going to win many games with 3 or 4 hits.
Right. And I know the Cubs have faced some good pitching lately, nothing against AJ Smith-Sawyer, but what's the excuse? Okay. You got to be able to get hits against somebody. 4.1 innings, gave up no runs, 3 hits, 2 walks, and 4 Ks.
Oh, we've never seen him before. We don't have tape on him. I hate that.
They have tape on everybody now, so that's not even an excuse anymore. The Cubs' only threat came in the 6th. Former Cub Pierce Johnson came into the game with 2 outs. He didn't have double. Nico walked. Michael Busch struck out. The Braves bullpen pitched 4 2/3 innings and only gave up a single and a walk in the 6th. Again, we've talked about the title of this offense, about the episode, The Offense is Offensive here. Since May 6th, Dustin, in the last 16 games, the Cubs have had to face a lot of good pitching with a lot of injuries.
A lot of good pitching.
You're talking Darvish and Dylan Cease in 3 games in San Diego, Jared Jones and Paul Skeens in Pittsburgh, Reynaldo Lopez and Chris Sale in Atlanta, and then Jared Jones, Paul Skeens, and Mitch Keller in a 4-game series at Wrigley. You had to face Max Fried. They're 6-10 in the stretch, Dustin, and they're coming in today. They're hitting 211 over the last 30 days. 211.
211 is not. That's awful. That's offense broke category. What, 2 home runs? 2 home runs on this homestand. That's also not.
And the wind's howling out, Dustin, in a lot of these games. The wind's howling out.
Right.
And so that's the lowest average in baseball in the last month. It belongs to the Cubs. And so, you know what? I know you're facing good pitching, but what was the excuse today? What was it's not enough. They're not doing enough.
Well, that's why, we both thought that they could win this series. And that's part of the reason why, because they actually avoided 2 of the 3 best pitchers that the Braves have. Yep, right? They're lucky they didn't face Chris Sale, or they might have gotten swept.
Yeah. And again, just when I'm looking at the wind and nobody can get one up and no one can get one out, I mean, that's ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous. You are listening to Season 3, Episode 42 of the Fly the W670 podcast. The Cubs offense, Crawly, it's downright offensive. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Leave one of those 5-star reviews. Also, email Crawly and I, flythew670, gmail.com. And don't forget, you can watch us, that's right, on the 670 The Score YouTube page. We've got some audio to go over, Crawly, from Jed Hoyer, as he often does, talking at the start of a homestand.
Yeah, it was really interesting in the conversation because a lot has happened over the last week. The first big story that we talked a little bit about earlier was Kyle Hendricks moving to the pen. We talked about that possibility of Kyle and what are you going to do with them when we had Rich Eberwine from Cubby's Crib on the last episode. And they made a decision. They moved him to the pen. And Jed Hoyer talked a little bit about the decision to move him to the pen.
From a team standpoint, is just, we're always trying what gives us the best chance to win, like short term and long term. I think with Kyle, I think he's had some success the first time through the order. And I think after that, it's gotten pretty dicey, and so I think this gives him a chance to work through some stuff, and there's a chance he continues that trend and has success there. But I think there's some signs that of success in there. Like he's had, there's some good things we see, but obviously he hasn't been able to put it together yet, and he knows that. And obviously, like he's the ultimate pro. He understands why we're doing it.
Dustin, pretty dicey is a kind way to put it. Hendricks is 0-4 with a 10.57 ERA. It is painful to watch. Now, Jed's trying to spin this, saying, well, going to the bullpen can be a positive for Hendricks, how it could help him. Here's his exact quote.
I think he has been successful first time through, in a lot of these games, and so I think that's something that gives some hope. In my career, I think the bullpen makes guys attack guys, and I think that's really important. You put a young guy in the bullpen, and he learns he has to attack from the beginning, and I think a lot of times that puts guys in the right mindset. And I think sometimes it's good for even Ben Brown and Wes have gone back and forth a little bit this year. I do think from a competitive standpoint, I think there's some of that's positive, that guys realize, hey, wait, I can take this same attacking mentality into the rotation, and so. I do think it puts guys in a different mindset right away, and sometimes that change in mindset can help.
You still got to have the stuff, though, Crawly, and he has not been okay the first time through. He's been okay in the first inning. His ERA goes from like a high 2 to like the 8s in the second, and then to the 10s in the third. So this isn't him getting the first guys out 1 through 9 the first time he faces them. He's doing an all right job in the first inning.
And you know what, Dustin? Kyle Hendricks is a veteran pitcher. He's not Hayden Wesniewski or Ben Brown. I think they're just trying to polish a turd on this one, to be honest with you. I don't think
lipstick on a pig, polishing of a turd.
Right. What do you really? Kyle Hendricks isn't going to learn anything about. Kyle Hendricks knows everything about pitching. It's the stuff, like you said. He knows what he has to do. Right. And he's a control pitcher, and he's missing his spots, and it keeps leaking over the plate. And that's where you're seeing guys just absolutely hitting the ball. I don't know. Now, one thing that he said, we do have Kyle Hendricks. He is the ultimate team player, just such a good dude. And when you think about it, to me, this is absolutely painful stuff. Here's Kyle being the consummate pro.
Pretty simple, honestly. I mean, we all know what's been going on. I think just trying to give the team the best chance to win at the end of the day. And that's all I'm trying to be about too. So I'm honestly excited for the opportunity and the challenge in a way. It's been great just down there with the guys, already one game. But just big opportunity, obviously, to try and turn things around. Still trying to work on things and get some game action, and just try and contribute and help the team win in any way I can.
I mean, that's what we love about Kyle, man. He is the ultimate team player. He's not trying to pretend like this is going to help him. He knows he has things to work on, and that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, he's a consummate pro, no doubt about it. But again, the relief. He didn't give anybody relief. He gave no relief today when he came in.
What do you think about this quote here about Jed Hoyer? What he has, I mean, I know he has to try to spin this in a positive way. Here's what he had to say about Kyle Hendricks.
I think he has a lot of good baseball left to pitch, and so I feel like some of these, I think the questions feel a little too final, I do think he has, I think there's a lot of positives you can take from the way he's throwing the ball. He hasn't put it together yet. So to be clear, I think he has a lot of good baseball left to pitch, but yeah, I think, he's a person he's going to be successful in the next phase or multiple phases he has. I think he's going to be successful in anything he does, frankly.
Sure,
now,
he's going to be successful in anything he does. He's made a ton of money. He's a good guy, all that stuff. But I mean, I'd like to hear some more concrete reasonings behind. I think he's got some good baseball left in him.
Well, let me kind of, I think I got something for you here. We talked on the last episode. I was again talking to Rich Eberwine, and Rich wrote an article kind of comparing the end of Jake Arrieta's career to where Kyle Hendricks is now. And Kyle Hendricks last year, and Jake Arrieta's last year, he was 35. Kyle Hendricks is 34. And Jake Arrieta always threw harder than Kyle. So I don't see how Jed can say he has a lot of good baseball left in him. I mean, honestly, maybe he finished, whatever happens. But Dustin, one thing to keep in mind is that Kyle Hendricks made his debut in 2014. Kyle reaches 10 years of service time on June 26. In the history of baseball, fewer than 10% of players have reached that milestone. And so once he gets to 10%, he gets his full pension. Okay. The pension pays about $7,500 a month, about $90,000 a year. But if a player waits until they turn 62, like you said, he had a lot of money, he gets could be up to $265,000 per year the rest of his life. And so I wonder how much this has to do with letting Kyle Hendricks hit that 10-year and get his pension the rest of his life, because you're not going to cut a guy right before he makes his pension. I mean, that's just not going to happen. I just wonder, once he hits it, which I want to say is the kind of like the end of June, early July, I wonder if that may be a time when they make a move.
I mean, I get that. You want to do right by the guy, but I mean, they've done right by the guy in paying him, right? I mean, I'm trying to look it up really quick. Hasn't he made like $70 million?
Either way, it is.
I mean, the interest. No, okay. If he gets through the 2024 contract, he's due 16.5 this year. 16.5. At the end of that, he will have made $83,891,500. The interest, Crawly, the interest he should be making off of that money is more than what we're talking about. So again, business is business. There might not be anybody better right now, right? But I'm just saying, like, you can't. I guess the only reason you could do that is because he's the last guy on the field still with the 2016 connection, right?
I would
fine, but I mean, it's not like this guy's made $5 million in 10 years playing baseball. He's made a lot of money.
I think, though, there is something. The MLB Players Union has celebrations for every player that hits that milestone. They make it's like a huge deal. It's really kind of seen as a badge of honor, badge of respect. Again,
I get all that. That's fine. Right.
Players. So when you're talking about free agency and players ask around and they said, dude, you know that the Cubs cut Kyle like a month before he was set. It's just a bad look is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. It's kind of like what the Bears supposedly did with Justin Fields, and they got him to where he wanted to go and what they thought was the right move and all that kind of stuff. Right? I understand it, but sometimes you got to, his job is to do what's right by the organization, and maybe that's what you mean there, not just what's right by the player.
Right. And again, when you talk about the future, think about you, Darvish, and all the guys he's convinced to come to Chicago. If you treat a guy good and with respect, that gets around, and that makes a big deal when guys are going through free agency.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. You're 100% right.
Now.
Yep, you're 100% right. I'm not gonna say you're wrong about that. I can't. No, I just, I'm just saying that I don't think Kyle Hendricks needs the money. It's more like you said. It's more ceremonial than anything else.
Right. Now, some other big news that we got is roster moves. Dansby Swanson was taken off the 10-day IL. Remember, Luis Vasquez was called up. We weren't sure exactly what was going on. The Cubs optioned 2 players to Iowa, Miles Masterboni and Pete Crow-Armstrong. Luis Vasquez was added officially. And so Jed talked about some of the decisions that they made. And here's what he had to say about Pete Crow-Armstrong.
That was really positive. I think, first of all, I thought on the defensive side, I mean, he's going to be a Gold Glove quality center fielder. I think that he's already going to rank him among the top center fielders. And I think you can just see how easy he makes hard plays look. These plays are 85-90% hit probabilities, and he makes the play chest high or head high. It makes it look pretty simple. So that's a lot of fun to watch. And I thought his decision making in general was better. I think that offensively, I obviously think at this point he needs to play every day, be down there, get at bats. But I thought compared to last year, I thought his ability to battle against Major League pitching was much better. He did make better decisions at the plate, and I think there's a lot of real positive signs. So I thought this didn't look nothing like last year, which is fantastic. I thought he looked like someone that has a chance to help us for a long time.
I was pretty impressed with PCA this second stint, and I know some people are upset, but actually Tauchman's playing really well. They're not going to send down Ian Happ or Seiya Suzuki, and you got Bellinger in center. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to do that. There are some things that PCA needs to work on. Sometimes he swings. He's having trouble at the top of the zone, which is something they can work out. Either high pitches. Sometimes he swings at them, outside of the zone. And so I think that's something they're going to work on with him. But I think Jed was right that when you saw him defensively, when you saw him at the plate, he looked a lot different than he did that first time around.
Absolutely. In his first at bat down in Iowa, he homered.
Right. Now, I got to tell you, Dustin, he'll be back is what I'm going to say. And again, when they re-signed Cody Bellinger, you knew this is what the possibility was for PCA. And all he can do is get better. Don't leave those holes there because they will get exposed. I'm fine with the move. The one I questioned is Luis Vasquez. And I don't question bringing Luis Vasquez up. What I don't get is the decision to keep Nick Madrigal in the lineup instead of Miles Mastrobuoni. Here's what Jed had to say about the decision to bring up Luis.
He's playing well. I think obviously a great defender. And, I think while, Dansby and Nico both working their way back, it made some sense to prioritize defense right now. So that was really the main focus of the decision is, normally those guys play there a lot, but if we have to give them more days off or give them some rest, I think we have a defender here that we feel really good about.
Now, I agree 100% with everything he says, but here's the thing. Luis Vasquez, he has always been a phenomenal glove guy, glove first guy. The bat was never really there. Last year, the bat started picking up, and so he became an interesting player. He started off AAA really well. Then he started to struggle offensively before he got called up to the Cubs. But I guess the thing that I don't get, and I got to see his debut on what was last night, on Wednesday night. He came in the ninth inning, but Nick Madrigal and Luis Vasquez are very similar players. Do you get what I'm saying? Is they're both righties, both glove first guys. Why wouldn't you keep a righty and a lefty? And when you talk about Miles Mastrobuoni, he's a faster guy than
much faster guy, much better on the base pass. I mean, I think I can get around the bases faster at my age than Nicky Madrigal. I mean, and again, I can't hit like Nick Madrigal, but again, he's been striking out too. And the other day, he put the bat on the ball, and it's just not good. It's just not good. There's no line drives. He's got no lift on any ball he hits.
No, you're 100% right. And like I said, to me, it's just a redundancy in the lineup. You don't need two soft hitting.
You need one of those two. You need one of those two kind of guys on your roster, not both. It's either one or the other. That's where they're at right now. But I think they probably, as much crud as I've given Miles Mastrobuoni over the last 2 years, I think at this point, he still had two options. I would have kept Miles up here, and I would have sent Nick Madrigal down to work on his hitting a little bit.
100% agree. And then one other thing is that Jed Hoyer was talking about the team, and there has been some good positive things. The starting pitching has really saved this team. But he was asked about the offense, and here's what Jed Hoyer, we talked a little bit about, that's the title of the episode, Offense is Offensive. Here's what Jed has to say about the offense.
See, I think we have a really good minor league system. That's not our focus. I think that we've had a month where we struggled, really. I think that I think April was a pretty good month for us offensively, and I think May so far has been a struggle. Especially with guys in scoring position, it's been a challenge. And I think some of that is playing shorthanded at times, and some of that is, guys that we count on have been struggling. But, candidly, at this moment, I'm not overly concerned given the way we swung the bats in April. I mean, I think that, for context, I think our OPS and our run scoring is better than the team across the way today. And, I don't think anyone's overly concerned about the Braves offense. I think these are the things that happen over a long season. You have your ups and downs, and right now, or at least for the last few weeks, we've been certainly in a low point offensively. There's been too many games we've had 0, 1, or 2 hits through 6 innings, and we haven't been able to string at bats together, and I think that is undeniable. But I just think this is what teams go through over the course of a season, and hopefully getting Dansby and Nico back, and you keep grinding. I think we'll get back to where we were in April, where we felt like we had really good at bats and we had real depth.
Dustin, I always go through the hots and the nots, see how the players are doing over, the last week. Oh, I can't even tell you how bad it is. But yeah, this is a low point for this offense, and they got who else is on the IL anymore? They're the team that they have on the field right now, currently, is what they expected to have an opening day, and again for the last, and it's not clicking just yet, and again over the last month hitting last in the league. It's got to change.
It's got to change. It's got to change, and it's got to change quickly because they've got a really tough stretch. I mean, we're going to talk about it in a minute. They got the Cardinals next, then they got the Brewers, and then they got the Reds. So now it's time to get things right inside the division, and they've got to get doing that starting on Friday. This is the Fly the W670 podcast. It is season 3. It's episode 42. The Cubs offense is offensive. Don't forget to leave Crawly and I one of those 5-star reviews. You can also email us at flythew670gmail.com. We're on all the social media platforms. And don't forget, you can also watch our show. Yes, you can watch the podcast on the 670 The Score YouTube page. So, Crawly, after a not so hot homestand, how do things look in the standings for the Cubs?
Well, luckily we're back where we started, 2 games behind the Milwaukee Brewers.
Isn't that amazing? That is amazing. Now the scary news is that the Cardinals are on the come.
Yes, the Cardinals are now only 5 games back, only 3 games behind the Cubs. So as much as we were ha-ha-haing the Cubs being, the Cardinals being in the basement for so long, they're ahead now of Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati's the one in the basement.
Right. Things don't go right. This could be completely flipped when we get together on the holiday or Tuesday.
Oh my God. Well, let's just start off with the good news here. Ryne Sandberg posted on Instagram after yesterday's PET scan and MRI test. Great news. No detection of cancer. This is after finishing chemo treatments and headed to radiation for several weeks since the original diagnosis was incurable cancer. But I mean, for me, Dustin, to see that was just such great news for Rhino.
Great news. And when, remind everybody, when is the statue unveiling?
The statue unveiling is June 23rd. That comes 40 years after his 2 home run game over against Bruce Sutter.
Very cool. Very cool.
Dustin, we talked a little bit earlier about some of the moves as far as, great Dansby's activated. You had Nico Hoerner coming back after taking 6 days off with the hamstring. Luis Vasquez up, Miles Masterboni down, and PCA down. It was reported on Tuesday that Julian Merriweather played catch in Arizona. So we got some movement on the Julian Merriweather front, and that can't come soon enough.
No, that cannot come soon enough.
Now we still got to wait until the All-Star break till he even thinks about coming back. Jordan Wicks threw a second bullpen. He is going to be going on a rehab assignment. We'll see where that happens. Adbert Alzolay got a second opinion on his right flexor strain. He's going to be shut down, Dustin, for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think we see him again until maybe the 4th of July.
I don't know. But one guy that did have his first minor league rehab outing was Drew Smiley. He threw 3 scoreless innings and struck out 5 against the South Bend Cubs, threw around 40 pitches. So they're going to consider next steps for Smiley, but he's probably going to join the roster by the end of the month. So good news.
What do you think the role is? Is he the bullpen guy? Is he maybe in the rotation taking Hendricks' spot every 5th day? What do you think they do there, especially if Wicks is still a little bit ways off?
I think he's going to still act as a swing man. I think that here's the thing with Ben Brown and with Hayden Wesniewski is you got to limit their innings, right? You're not going to throw them 150 innings, right? And so that's the thing, is if you can kind of, have a start here, like what Ben Brown did today. And I think that to me is what's going to happen is you'll see Drew Smyly make some starts. He'll pitch 2 or 3 innings in a game if he's kind of dealing. So I think that's the thing. He's going to be a swing man and give Craig Counsell some options.
All right, very good. So let's now talk about the Cubs and the Cardinals, Crawly, one of the, if not the best rivalries in all of baseball, some might say in all of sports. I can't believe that we're basically at Memorial Day weekend, and this is the first time these rivals are playing in this baseball season.
Yeah, the Cardinals won the NL Central in 2022 for the first time since 2019. They had high hopes for 2023, but they have to do it without their longtime catcher and leader, Yadier Molina. Former Cub Wilson Contreras turns heel and takes the place of Yadier Molina. And the season turned out to be a train wreck last year for the Cardinals. In April, there was a well-publicized feud between Tyler O'Neill and manager Ollie Marmol. In early May, it was announced that Wilson would be removed from his catching role and be a DH, even though he'd get his job back. But the Cardinals were never competitive in 2023. They were sellers at the deadline, trading away Jordan Montgomery, Paul DeYoung, Jordan Hicks, Jack Flaherty, Genesis Cabrera, and Chris Stratton. They finished with a record, Dustin, of 71-91. Good for last place in the NL Central. Their first last place finish, Dustin, since 1990, when I graduated from 8th grade. I'm almost looking into retirement. And they are that was the last time they were in last place, 1990, when I was graduating 8th grade.
That's crazy.
The Cardinals' offense last year was 15th in average, but it was pitching and defense, which is always the area that St. Louis shined in, that they struggled. Their starting ERA was 26 in baseball. Their ERA was 23rd. The Cubs took the season series last year 8-5. St. Louis took 2 of 3 at Wrigley in early May. If you remember that, Wilson Contreras drove in 2 runs as the Cardinals won 3-1 in his return to Wrigley. They split the 2 games in London. That was in June. Trey Mancini error in game 2 turned the momentum around. Should have been a Cubs sweep there. And with the trade deadline 9 days away in July, the Cubs and Cardinals played each other 6 times in 10 days, with the Cubs sweeping both the series at home and on the road. The most memorable moment was when Mike Tauchman robbed of a home run that would have walked it off for St. Louis, and the Cubs went from sellers to buyers at the trade deadline.
Yeah, that was great. That was a great moment last year.
So, Dustin, you figure after finishing in last place for the first time since the Bill Clinton administration, right, that the Cardinals would be buyers? They signed a trio of starting pitchers, 34-year-old Sonny Gray, who had a great season, but injuries have always been the thing that have plagued him. But then they also signed 36-year-old Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson to provide veteran stability. They made a lot of starts last year. They ate 560 innings.
Wow.
Lynn had a 573 RA and Gibson 473. And so it just really was, it didn't blow my socks off. Let me just go that way. And so they lost Jordan Montgomery, Paul DeYoung, Jordan Hicks, Jack Flaherty. Obviously Sonny Gray's a very good pitcher, but Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson do nothing for me.
Right. And Sonny Gray was somebody that we talked about, potentially wanting at Clark and Addison. Yeah,
and we'll see what happens. But again, the health with that guy's always been the issue. As you know from listening to this podcast, we're laughing again about the Cardinals being in the basement. That all started to change after losing 3 of 4 to the Brewers a couple of weeks ago. Since then, they took 2 of 3 from the Angels, then 2 of 3 from the Red Sox. Dustin, they just finished up a sweep of the Baltimore Orioles.
And how about that? Baltimore had not been swept in how long?
Right.
You see that stat about how long they had not been swept for? That was amazing.
And so that's 3 straight series wins, 2 of those against a couple of pretty good teams. As far as health, they're in pretty good shape. They're missing their 5th starter, a couple of bullpen arms, and a backup infielder in Tommy Edman. But the main injury is to Wilson Contreras.
We won't see him this weekend.
No, he suffered a fractured left forearm on a backswing from JD Martinez. Dustin, they wanted him to get closer to the plate to steal a few more strikes, and he got it on the backswing from Martinez. But the Cardinals have won 3 in a row, 8 of their last 10. So they're on a hot streak right now, but they are 11-12 at Busch Stadium. That takes us to the tail of the tape. Hitting right now, the Cubs are 25th out of 30 teams in ER and average, hitting 227. The Cardinals are not much better. They're 22nd at 231. Starting pitcher ERA, the Cubs are 8th at 343, and that's what's been saving them, where the Cardinals are 24th and 456. So the advantage goes to the Cubs on that one. Reliever ERA, the Cubs are 20th at 4.15, where the Cardinals are 16th at 3.90, so advantage Cardinals. And then defensive runs saved. The Cardinals are looking a lot better this year. They got a young shortstop that's doing a great job. The Cubs are 24th with negative 10 runs saved, while the Cardinals are 11th in baseball with plus 13 runs saved because of their defense. So the advantage goes to the Cardinals in hitting, reliever ERA, and fielding. So that takes us to the pitching probables right now. Game
Probables,
one.
keyword probables, right? I mean, I think, have we had an announcement about game 3 officially yet?
No, and not yet. But we got to
and it's a night game, right?
Yes.
Sunday night baseball. All these are at night. All 3 are at
all
night.
3.
Which I hate, by the way, just for what that's worth.
Well, you start out game one, left-handed pitcher Shota Imanaga versus right-handed pitchers Miles Michaelis. That is 7:15 Central Time. Cool note, Dustin, for the first time since 1969, there's going to be a carry and a buck in the broadcast booth. Obviously, you had Harry Carey and Joe Buck were the legendary broadcaster. So you're going to have Jack Buck and Chip Carey calling the game. So for those baseball traditionalists, I think it's kind of cool, right?
It is kind of cool. It is.
Shota Mania heads to the Lou. Speaking of the Lou, did you see those ugly City Connect uniforms?
I did. Those are those are ugly. Those are ugly.
I don't know what Nike and Fanatics are doing. Baseball, again, it can
they're running out of ideas. Obviously, that's what they're doing.
I think that it was just a lot better with Majestic when they were running it. I don't like, again, Nike. You saw what they did with the lettering. You saw the uniforms looking cheap, and now they're coming out with some of these City Connects that are just look awful. With Shota, though, he is 5-0 with the MLB lowest ERA at 0.84 in 9 games started. He struck out 58 batters in 53 2/3 innings. In his last 2 starts against Pittsburgh and Atlanta, he's given up 0 runs. This is the first time Cardinals hitters will be facing Shota. On the flip side, Miles Michaelis has struggled in 2024. He's 3-5 with the 5.77 ERA in 10 games. He has 39 strikeouts and 53 innings pitched. On May 7th, he pitched a bad game against the Mets, giving up 6 runs in 4 innings pitched. On May 12th, he pitched okay, giving up 3 runs and 6 innings pitched against Milwaukee to pick up the win. And his last start on 5/18 was the best of this month, going 5 innings pitched against the Red Sox. He gave up 1 run on 2 hits. Michaelis is 5 for 4 in his career against the Cubs with a 2.58 ERA. He was a lot better in the beginning of his career than later.
Yeah, he's always been a pain in the ass to the Cubs, though. I never liked that guy.
Yeah, and his weird porn mustache.
Okay. You said that. I thought that, but you said that.
Ian Happ is 10 for 34 against Michaelis. Nico 9 for 23. Dansby 6 for 19. Cody Bellinger struggles. He's 2-12 against Michaelis. He throws a 4-seamer, a slider, a sinker, and a curveball.
All right, game number 2, Saturday night, under the lights. Jameson Tyone
and Matt Liberatore. Jameson is 3-2 with the 2.20 ERA in 6 games started. He struck out 22 batters in 32 innings. J-Mo looked really good when he came off the IL in the middle of April, pitching 4 games and going at least 5 innings pitch in each game and hadn't given up more than 1 run in any of those starts. But after he missed that start against Pittsburgh when it was pushed back, he hasn't gone deep in any games. He pitched 4 innings against Atlanta and gave up 2 runs, and he pitched 4.2 innings against Pittsburgh and gave up 3 runs. J-Mo is 5-1 with a 3.28 ERA versus the Cardinals in his career. Dustin, he's 3-0 at Busch Stadium with a 1.67 ERA. Nolan Arenado is 7-13 against Jameson, but Paul Goldschmidt's 3 for 10. Dylan Carlson and Lars Nootbaar are both 1 for 6. As far as Matt Liberatore, he's a big old lefty. He's 1-2 with a 5.40 ERA in 3 games started. He's acted more of a swingman for St. Louis, working in the pen, getting an occasional start. He's worked as a starter in his last 2 appearances on 5/13 against the Angels. He went 3.1 innings, gave up 4 runs on 5 hits. In his last start against Boston, he gave up 4 runs on 6 hits and 3 innings of work. He's 0-1 against the Cubs. In his career, in 2 games started with a 6.48 ERA. No Cubs have more than 5 at-bats against Liberatore. Matt features a slider, 4-seam fastball, sinker, and cutter. Now, here's what we think is going to happen on Sunday Night Baseball. Javier Assad versus Sonny Gray. So a battle of 2 good right-handed pitchers.
I mean, it would make sense. I don't know what the delay is, right? I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't be Assad unless the matchup, unless you're trying to get Assad off to a good start on the road against the Brewers on the holiday in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you why they're being all secretive. Assad is 4-0 in 10 games started with a 1.70 ERA. That's fourth lowest in all of baseball. In his last start against Atlanta, he had to deal with a good hitters on that Atlanta lineup, humid conditions and a jet stream blowing out. For the first time all season, he allowed 3 runs in a ball game. He only went 4.2 innings, gave up 3 runs on 4 hits, 5 walks, and 4 Ks. Other than that little blip, though, Assad's been one of the Cubs' most dependable pitchers. Not a lot of Cardinals have experience against Assad. Dylan Carlson's 2 for 5. Nolan Arenado and Nolan Gorman are 0 for 6. Lars Nootbaar is 2 for 6, and Paul Goldschmidt's 0 for 4. We talked about Sonny Gray being the big free agent pickup for the Cardinals. He's 6-2 in 8 games with a 2.87 ERA, 59 strikeouts, Dustin, in 47 innings pitched. He had some bumpy starts in May after having a fantastic month of April. 3 starts ago against the Brewers, he gave up 6 runs in 5 innings. 2 starts ago, he gave up 5 runs in 6 innings versus the Angels. He got back on track in his last start. He only gave up 1 run in 5 2/3 innings against the Orioles. Lifetime against the Cubs, he's 4-3 with a 2.98 ERA. Ian Happ is 6 for 12 against Sonny with a home run. Dansby 3 for 7. Cody's 1 for 5. He struggles. And, with Sonny Gray, he has an arsenal of pitches he uses: a 4-seamer, sweeper, curveball, cutter, and sinker.
Well, that sounds like a really interesting pitching matchups all the way across the board, and that's exciting for the fans. All right, the who's hot and who's not. We know the not. I mean, the Cubs offense, there's nobody. There's nobody. I mean, you mentioned in the preview there about Ian Happ. Now, Ian Happ, he's far from hot, but for him, he is kind of hot, and those numbers, so maybe he's pointing in the right direction as they head south.
You hope so. Dansby Swanson's a good start back. He's 4 for 10 in this last series. Mike Tauchman, 4 for 19, which is a 211 average, is the next best. Then comes Ian Happ at 4 for 20 with a 200 average. Miguel Amaya, Christopher Morel, Cody Bellinger, Seiya Suzuki, Nico Hoerner, Michael Busch, all hitting under 200 in the last week. Just awful.
And Suzuki, some really weird swings, like uncomfortable swings the last couple of nights.
Right now for the Cardinals, be careful of this kid, Mason Wynn. He's their shortstop. I told you the defense is a lot better, and they really are high on Mason Wynn at short. He's 7 for his last 18 with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs, slashing 389, 368, 889. Alec Burleson is 9 for his last 24. And Nolan Arenado, who struggled really bad to start the season, is starting to warm up a little bit. He's 8 for his last 23. No homers, but an RBI. He's slashing 348, 375, but the power's down at 391. Paul Goldschmidt's had an unusual year. He hasn't been doing that great. Better as of late in this hot streak. He's 6 for 25, but that comes out to a 240 average, Dustin. And then as far as the Cubs are concerned, center field has been a really bad place for them. Michael Ciani is batting 3 for 16, 188, 276, 375 slashing. So I wouldn't worry much about him.
No, that sounds like somebody the Cubs fans don't have to be worried about. But when you start to ignore guys, then all of a sudden they kind of come back and bite you. All right, Crawly, prediction time. I'll let you go first this time. Let's see if you're half full or half empty.
I'm going to try to be half full, but my heart's not in it. Here's the thing. It's impossible when you got a team that has gotten shut out in 4 out of the last 10 games.
How do you back the Cubs right now?
Right.
I mean, they've got like what they're averaging like 2 runs a game and like.
I mean, I think that the matchups look good. Shota Minaga versus Miles Michaelis. I'll take Shota on that one.
Yep.
And then
And Tyone's been good against the Cardinals.
Right, especially at Busch. So, and Matt Liberatore's not that great. And so, Javier Assad and Sonny Gray, I think, is a coin flip on that one. So I'm going to go Cubs 2 out of 3. The bats wake up, and they're going to bash them at St. Lou.
All right. I also am going to go 2 for 3. I'm not going to go 1 for 3. I don't think the Cubs get swept. I like some of the numbers that you shared with everybody about the success of some of the hitters, familiarity with these pitchers. And, there's no doubt that again, this is why the Cubs brought in Craig Counsell. Series like this, when you want to flush something away as bad and as wretched as the offense has been, like he's got to figure out, and this can't be the old, well, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And well, you just got to hit the ball in a better spot. And, well, bad luck and injuries. No, Craig, you're the highest paid manager by far for a reason. Now you must deliver. So I say Cubs take 2 out of 3. Everybody out there, enjoy the official start of summer. Weather doesn't look too good around here, but try to get out on Saturday. That looks like it's going to be the best day. Crawly, happy Memorial Day to you and yours. And happy to report that my kids are getting out of school. So summer is officially beginning for us here in Elmhurst. That's a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Follow on the socials, Fly the W on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Email Crawly and I, flythew670gmail.com. You can watch us, that's right, by subscribing to the 670 The Score YouTube channel. Crawly, enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the last week and change of your schooling, and hopefully you have a great Memorial Day with the family.
Absolutely. And don't worry, Cub fans. I got a feeling this is where they turn it around. Don't eat the pizza in St. Louis. St. Louis is boring. Go Cubs. Hey guys, it's Crawly. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. If you want to see more of our videos, be sure to check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date with our latest episodes. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Go Cubs!